Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 43rd edition of the epic Lake Garda Easter meeting. We are about to be witnessing the largest regatta in the world, the largest regatta on this planet this year, and we have come to the finals. So we will bring you the finals today. We have just seen the 5 minutes flag for the gold fleet. So we will soon begin our action. My name is Robin, and for the finals, we actually have called in the cavalry. So together with me today, I have sitting next to me Vanya Ramm-Ericson and Adele Ramm-Ericson. Vanya, you just come back from Ilka 6 racing here in Malchese and finishing off as number one U19 female sailor. Congrats! How was the week?
Thank you very much. No, there's been a wide variety of winds this week. The first few days were quite windy conditions, but we've also had a lot of waiting and light winds.
And that we've seen quite some here also on the optic course. And together you have your sister, Adele Ramm-Ericson. You are actually the reigning championess of the regatta, the winner of the last year's Lake Garda Easter meeting. So congrats once again for that.
Thank you.
How has your week been?
Well, I have now switched from Opti to Ilka after the World Championships last year. And I finished at a 14th place, second girl. And it has been up and down, some good stuff and then some bad stuff happening, of course. And for me, the win has been quite good. It has been a bit stable and unstable, so big variety, and yeah.
And you actually have a lot of your friends here on the course. I mean, it was you sailed Opti until the World Championships in December this year. So
Yeah, I'm still very close to many and know many sailors.
and what do you think about the regatta so far on the up the course from what you've been seeing?
From the results, it seems like really hard. Like most people, I like the top three, all like have mostly bullets, and it feels like you really need to have a really top results to be on the top.
Absolutely, and now we're building up for the start for the gold fleet here, and I mean here in Lake Garda it's a little special because you have the race committee boat in the middle of the starting line, and you have we're watching here the windward pin, and then you have the leeward pin at the far distance at the other side of the committee boat. So
Here we can see many sailors at the pin. And normally here in Garda, it's very often to start closer to the mountains. Since you want to tack as quick as possible to go to the mountain, and there the wind shifts due to the land, and you get a big shift and you gain a lot. So that's the very typical Garda. That's why they also usually put the pin end higher, since so many people want to start at the other pin end. But here we can see that there are most people are at this committee end or this pin end, which can be good and bad. It can mean that many think that maybe the right won't be as good, or maybe that you can even gain from starting at this pin end from left and tacking immediately. We can see it's very tight, many lines behind, and it's gonna be hard to make it past the pin end to make it through. We can see British here, quite close to the pin, drifting down a bit though. Seems very hard to start, getting a bit stuck.
We can also see that it's a bit chaotic at the pin end. Loads of boats closer to the pin are trying to make their way up to the pin, but are drifting down and not really making it.
We can see that the start has now gone, and Uh, people are going back.
In the start, you could also see there was a slight banana where people were over in the middle by the committee, but you can also see it now in the middle. But most people, as we said, started by the pin.
As we see, they tack immediately to go closer to the mountain. But now we see that it is a general recall. So it is a restart here, and everyone is sailing back down to do another start.
I imagine the Gold Fleet has been waiting for this moment throughout these last days. So there's quite a lot of nerves. Adele, you've been sailing the Gold Fleet a few times here.
Yeah.
So what's normally the feeling lining up to the starting line here? I mean, it's probably the longest starting line in the world with over 170 boats.
Yeah, it's now in Gold Fleet I would say there are two types. The ones that want revenge, the ones that are oftenly more at the bottom of gold, who says, "Oh well, I have nothing to lose." They try to give it their all. They can only gain. And then there are the ones that don't want to lose places and are really scared and has very many nerves. So it's probably like now many people want to get better. This is the last day. They want to push. They want to really get the last results that they want. So that's why oftenly these last days can be many restarts or many people over. But of course, the ones that are at the top, they want to be very, very careful to not get dragged up there and to get a black flag, because no one wants to get a black flag on the last day.
And Vanya, you've been racing quite a few different boats. You started off in Opti, of course, like most sailors do, but then you quite early switched to Fiva, right?
Yes, I sailed Fever quite a lot in Malta, but even in England, in the UK, and did many international competitions such as the World Championships in Salonika, where we finished third in our women's category. But as we said,
How would you say the starts differ sailing Fiva, where you actually have also a spinnaker and so on? Not for the start, of course, but how would you say the start differs from Opti?
Do you also have Gold Fleet and Silver Fleet?
yes, of course, we usually, well, it depends how many boats, but we always have uh, more more different fleets.
So what would you say it's the main difference sailing double-handed compared to Opti when preparing for the start?
Firstly, you have to be very clear with your communication, where to start, how to start, so both people are on board on what you're going to do. And I think that works very well as well, because when you've told someone else what your plan is, then that's going to happen and you know what's going to happen. Then obviously something can go wrong, something can happen, but then you solve the problem together.
Yeah, oftenly now in Opti, I have experienced like you don't really have a clear plan, but you think, oh, I start somewhere here and just like follow the fleet a bit, which when you really say it out loud, then that's more what you're going to do. And I think that is a recommendation, because oftenly here in Optis, you're like, oh, I just go with the flow, which maybe not always can lead to the best.
I also feel that when you're two people, you analyze the wind and the conditions in a lot more detail. You go through how's the wind, how's the shifting, where should I start, what is favored. Whereas when you're alone, usually you think about everything, but not in as much detail as when you discuss the conditions.
That's nice. It's always nice to have a friend out there as well. Well, that's good to hear. But then after FIVA, you switched to Aero, Vanya, right?
Yes, I sailed quite a lot of aero for a few times, as also here in Garda in a competition. I think it was the World Championships.
Yeah, well, then the Worlds and the European Championships.
The European Championships here in Maltese.
And that's nice. And so a lot of these sailors are looking to sort of the next boat, whether it's going to be Ilka or Arrow or maybe 29er or how would you say you should reason when you're looking for the next boat to choose?
Well, since I just switched, this was also a question for me, of course. It's a lot about you self-analyze yourself to see, okay, what is it that you're interested in? What is it that you like about the sailing? What do you want to, for example, me, I noticed that I like I'm more independent. So I like sailing more alone rather than a two-man. So that's why I was more into the Ilka side than I know many people who choose 29er since that's also a very fast boat. Do you want to fast or yeah, it's many points that you can see. And I think it's very important to test and see because you maybe didn't think about it, but this was really fun. So that's very important.
I agree with you. And I think that it's very important to try different boats, see what you like and think is fun. But I also think that double-handed boats, you need a lot more, you need to sync with your partner and have the same goals, which can be difficult sometimes, but it can be very fun if you manage. But for me, I'm also a very independent person, and I found that it was easier at my club to do Ilka, and I think I'm happy with my choice.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, and now you're both preparing for the Ilka World Championship, so Vanya. You will be sailing Ilka 6, and Adele, you will be sailing the Ilka 4, right?
Yes, in LA, USA.
LA, USA. But now we are in the Temple of Sailing in Lake Garda, and we have a black flag.
And we are in
was-
the last minute here, so the black flag is down, but that means that no one can be over now. And we can see much more people here in the pin end near to the mountain, which reasons can be that either maybe it has shifted more to the right. We saw before that the port tack was really high, and maybe now the port tack isn't as high. We can here see many boats starting to sail. But it's pretty straight line, and then there comes a banana, which is quite often, as I've seen. Not very many people who is here close to the pin are in like a second line, as when you go more to the middle, you can see many more boats that are like in more lines behind, and also very many people waiting here to get into the line.
No, I agree. They're lined up very neatly, and it looks quite equal across the line. Um,
We can also see here that it looks more like this side is favored. Since we can see the angle of the line looks like it goes more down with compared to the wind angle.
Closest to the pin, we can now see Maltese sailor Sasha, who's in 50th place. Whether she will be able to accelerate now or she's drifted back. Yeah, you can see very clearly that
And Italian
it
came
drifts
and
off from the starting line, and you see the sailors coming in from around the pin.
we see the sailors going up to
Oh,
the
oh,
line, nearly a little bit
oh,
over now.
And we have Casper Ramm-Ericson there, 4905, the younger brother to Vanya Nadal here. Just
Ooh.
at the start.
Here the star has gone and they have tacked towards the mountain. We can see that the angle is in fact lower and it's more towards the mountain. And this is a really important thing here in Garda is many people know, go to the mountain. But the angle also depends how much. If it's to left, the mountain won't give off as much. But here we can see them going more directly to the mountain.
And in the lead, we have Jesper Karlsson, the overall leader here for the regatta. We can also see Leonardo, for Italian, 2551, a little further back in the field. And in between them, we have
Sasha here, also Maltese in the first line.
Mm.
So both of you lived in Malta for 4 years, right?
Yes.
So what do you think about the sailing in Malta?
Well, Malta offers a very wide variety of winds and conditions, but mostly there are lots of big waves because of the open sea. And especially in winter, it can be very rough and windy.
So we can probably see that the Maltese are good at hiking.
Because Malta is actually where you start to sail, Adele. I mean, Sasha, she's now in place 50 in the overall standing here in the Gold Fleet, and off probably to a very, very good race here.
And we can see Leonardo Scalpi gaining the lead and taking a bit distance from the others, which of course can come from good speed. We can also see that the people who started on the other pin end are also not doing very bad.
Adele, what side do you think will win this battle? The people who started by the windward pin or the leeward pin?
From this angle, I would say that the people from the from the windward pin are looking at like a really high angle, and if the people near the leeward pin would tack, they would probably not cross. So, but this is also a very typical Garda that in the beginning it looks good from the left side, but then the right side started to gain. But I would say here that the left side is gaining more and more. At least they're not looking bad.
Interesting. And does a shift near land usually occur in Garda? Is that
Yes, that's the land effect is also it's called when it's the wind sort of changes direction due to the land formation, which is why many people go towards the mountain.
Yes. We can see that Italy 251 really got a head start from the start and tacked early, and now is ahead of most of the fleet.
He got a big advantage there. Leonardo Scalpi, which is in the second place, which this race is looking quite good from his side. But the question is the left side better or not? I would say here they're pretty equal, at least Leonardo. But the in general, the left side looks like it is paying a bit.
Yes, and we can also see that Leonardo looks like he has very clear wind.
Of course, yes.
Whereas many boats in the fleet have dirty wind.
Yes, and here it's very important to have free wind, since as you all can see, they all go in one tack, just straight for half the upwind, and therefore it's really important to have your free wind so that you can continue. Otherwise, it's much more complicated if you need to try to tack away, try to get a free wind. Yeah, here we can see him quite close with the waves. We can see that the wind have picked up pretty much from the start of the day. And it's a nice hiking conditions.
Yes, we can also see him looking around, looking at the other boats, the wind, and all the time checking around him.
Yes, gotta analyze how are the other boats doing, how's the wind going. You also need to see when to tack or how long to continue.
And what would you say about his hiking technique here, Leonardo?
I would
Okay,
say
now we get a little wave, so it will
yeah,
matter.
it looks good. Of course, the waves here are quite compact, so you need to do a lot of work to not crash into them too much and to keep the flow moving. You don't want the bow to crash too much, since that creates that slows you down from crashing into the waves. So you need to work a lot with the body, the steering, the main sheet, and of course you need to do a lot of bailing, as we can see here Sasha is doing, since you get a lot of water in. which slows you down a lot, which I know since I was not a big fan of bailing, and it is important. We can see here that Leonardo has tagged. We can see if he goes over the left side or not. It is looking like he is, but are the ones behind is a big question. We saw another person tag, but he does not look like he's going over the whole fleet.
Yes, it's a very bold move to tack across the whole fleet, but it looks like he's going to cross them.
We continue seeing people tag now. It's often like a chain reaction when someone tags. One person tag and then more people follow it. But he tagged back.
Do you think would you say that he tacked back in the middle of the fleet as a safe move to control the fleet?
I would say it's if we look at the footage, we can see that he is maybe a bit in front, but it's quite close if he's before or after the left side. And he has multiple people on the right and on the left. So the middle is a very smart place to place yourself so that you have control over the fleet and you can choose where you want to sail and not have the fleet needing to you need to yeah
Adjust. No, but I think it's was a lot of safer move for him to tack to stay in the middle of fleet than to go all the way to the right. And we can see that they're coming closer to the upwind mark now as well.
we can see that the left is looking very, very good here. The angle is much higher, so they are not pointing towards the mountain, and therefore the land effect is not occurring here. And people that tacked out again into more the middle of the lake seem to be getting even more wind and are gaining a lot.
And we have Amanda Pettersson here, just exiting the screen on the right-hand side, a Swedish sailor who actually won the Swedish Championships for girls this last year, and she's currently in place 77.
And now it looks like we have Malta in the top, leading, coming in from the left side. So it looks like a bit more stronger wind on the left side than the right side.
So we're now switching to our second row, and we see an
We can here see Isa Kaplan, which is in the top of the regatta too, trying to cross over, but the left loop just looks like it's paying more and more, and it's very high angle. They're nearly going straight up to the mark.
Yes, it has also shifted now on shifted to the left now in the end, so they're pointing even higher.
We can though see that the Maltese sailor is probably still crossing, or he's leading from where he is, which I think is the most important thing, because you can't always control what happens to the wind, but you need to make the best out of your situation, which is therefore trying to win your side wherever you are. Try to get the best place where you are there, because that will then you are at least in front of the other boats. And when you're in a leading position, it's often much easier. It's easier to sail. You get to choose where you want to sail instead of the fleet. You have to oh, now they're coming, you got to tack. And we can see that he is continuing crossing. They're the last two boats that he might not cross, or that he is going towards at least. We see exiting the screen was Leonardo, who was leading, and who has therefore, from his big leading position there, had then lost some boats and is not in a leading position anymore, even though he was really good from his side. We closing up to the upwind mark, and the left seem to be the favored in this upwind with the angle and probably more wind.
Yes, Adele, could you go through the course as well?
Of course, it's upwind, which they're going through now. Then it's a long reach, which is crosses from to the next side of the lake, which then you go down to downwind, where you round with a gate into the last upwind into the finish line.
Now we see MLT 158, rounding the upwind mark.
Isaac,
Isaac
As-
Safardi.
yes, who is leading. He also finished third in the Country Cup. And we can also see 2 Danish rounding.
With a GBR behind.
It's actually Freya Wintergard, the leading female sailor here. She's currently in 10th position in the regatta, and I think second now in the Gold Fleet. Very promising to see.
It's always fun to see other girls in a great position. She was also at the Rock Regatta of Championships in Cyprus last year, which is great to see the upward trend, which, yeah.
And Adele, congrats to the bronze at the Regatta of Champions.
Thank you.
That's another, apart from, I would say, your favorite regatta probably is the Garda Easter meet, I
Yes,
presume.
of
But
course.
second to that, apart from the World Championship, I guess you would say Rock.
Yeah, it was really fun and a big learning experience.
Yes, we can see now that they've started reaching. Some boats have gone very high, where others have gone quite low. What do you think will pay off, going high or low or in the middle in this case?
It depends on where the reach mark is, and I think it's more lower, which therefore it can pay to go lower, since if you go higher, you take a much longer distance. But if you go higher, you get the free wind and you get clear wind. Meanwhile, if you're under, then you don't get clear wind. So that can always depend. It's always different. Here, though, when it's Gold Fleet, as you can see, it's very much compact, very much boats together, and that then decreases the wind if you're below, since it's so many more boats above you. I think I went over mostly to. It's always a bit more safer, but the going the down banana on the reach can sometimes gain a lot, especially when you're closing up to the reach mark. Then you can, because then the ones that went over, they take a really long way and they come to the mark going downwind. Meanwhile, if you go under, you come as a straight. So there, it's often when you gain as the most. Many people are here over the ley line.
We can also see some boats were struggling to round the upwind mark, tacking and.
Yesterday it was quite painful to see the rounding on the mark because there was such a strong current. So there were like every third or fourth boat were just crashing into the mark and get entangled there, and one boat could push another boat, and the third one hitting the mark. So it was quite painful to see. But today the condition seems to be much better.
The roundings are always quite hard, since if you come from the port ley line, then you meet yourself with starboard boats and they have right away, so you have to tack, but you don't want to tack under, so that's always where people get stuck under and can't reach the mark. The last boats are starting to close up here.
We can also feel now from land that the wind is increasing and picking up.
Yes. As we saw before, there was some sun, which probably was why the wind came. And now we unfortunately have some clouds, but the wind seems to be staying strong.
Yes, it's building, and now we can see them up coming to the reaching mark.
Now we're switching drone, and
We can clearly see the wind strokes, which are important. You can see that they have they have a gust here in the top, which is always good since you go much faster. And with these waves, the reach, you can gain a lot, but also lose a lot. Same with the downwind, since it's not any tactical, it's mostly just your speed. And with the waves, you can get surfing and you can increase your speed very much.
And in this reach, when the wind is so gusty and building and picking up, how should your sail controls and adjustments be?
Well, oftenly it's a bit hard to change during the reach, but before you round the upwind mark, you should let go of the outhaul a bit to get more of the rounder sail, to get more of the power, since you want more power and more wind during the reach and downwind. But you also need to then remember to pull it again for the upwind, otherwise you're gonna have probably be overpowered for the upwind.
now we're gonna switch to the first mark for the blue fleet. We have the blue fleet approaching the first mark here,
We can see
and the blue fleet is actually the silver fleet, of course.
Yes, we can see GBR 6650 is in the lead, crossing over the left side, and seem to have it's a much more distance from each boat here, and he seems to be continuing more to the left.
yes,
Edward West in the lead.
we can see that a lot of boats have tacked from the right hand side, going to the left. And it looks like the higher side, higher angle.
Now we can see that furthest on the right, they are getting a little push upwards. They are gaining a bit more here, which can be from the land effect. We can
It's
now
nice to see Edward in the lead here. Edward West. I mean, he finished off at 259 in the qualifier series, so it's very nice to see him taking the pole position here in the silver fleet.
And now that the wind has picked up and is building, will the land have any effect?
Yes, oftenly now when it's picking up and it's the more typical Garda and with this aura, then the land effect is more likely to occur. But it's, as said before, it's the angle of which you sail. If you sail more towards the mountain, then it's probably going to pay more. But if you sail more with the mountain, then the left side is likely to pay more.
We can see some boats here coming in from the right and crossing some of the boats from the left.
A typical thing is also, since everyone wants to go towards the mountain, is that they overdo it and they overlay the ley line. Which we can see here, they are on the ley line, but oftenly if you're a few boats behind and you want to get that extra little, then that's oftenly when you lead to being over ley line. I have unfortunately done that a year before. I was very, very far over, and it's a very unnecessary way to lose boats, since you are in a good position, but you just immediately lose that away by just going more reach earlier. He seems to have a big leading here, going towards the mark, a bit more left of the others. As we can see the port boats coming from the left. He's crossing them big, with a big distance.
Yeah, we can see all the boats up coming now to the upwind mark. Some boats coming from the left and from the right, and are soon heading towards their ley line.
Will we have a glimpse also for the yellow fleet now? Switching back, see, we have still
We still have Isaac in the leading position with a GBR who took over the second place, or they're kind of fighting, taking each other wind and trying to surf their way past each other. The Denmark and the British.
Yes, and with that, we go back to the rounding for the Silver Fleet.
We can see that in this race, the left did not pay as much as the last upwind, which is always hard to tell before.
We can see that
We can see that Edward is still in the lead and now rounding the upwind mark with a greater distance, which is always really nice when you're in the top, since you don't have to worry about the boats behind. It's always very stressful being the first.
yeah, we have Norway and Sweden behind. Now round first Norway.
We have Noah from Norway.
And then we have a Spanish. Unfortunately, the Swedish couldn't make it past the mark, which is a smart move to attack before instead of trying to get over and getting stuck and needing to turn and lose many boats.
So we have Lucas from Spain.
Spain.
Spain. And we have the Oliver Josefsson there making the extra attack before the rounding the mark.
Oh, we can see here the port ley line and the starboard ley line meeting together, and of course the port ley line, or the people who come from the port, they want to not duck under and lose that extra boat, but that can also lead to many collisions and unnecessary breaking the rules. Oh, as we saw the USA here attacking right into, and we're back into the gold fleet
with still MLT in the lead with GBR and Denmark behind. And now we're going to see which gates they're going to choose to turn. The windward gate looks a bit higher and could be favorable, but we're going to see now which gate they're going to choose to turn.
It's quite a spectacular view here from the north, looking at through the gate and down through Lake Garda.
Looks like the boats in the top are choosing. Oh no, yes, they're choosing to turn the windward mark and going closer to the land side.
No, to the middle, since now we have positioned ourselves to the other side of the lake. And here, there's not a specific rule on like a land effect. It's mostly go where the wind is. Sometimes it can be more wind near the land, since the wind goes in and it increases by the land, but that is not always the case.
Here it could be smart, as they did, to choose the windward mark, as then you could sail off with free wind and not getting blocked from the whole fleet going downwind.
And we see Didrik Dahlberg here rounding and then attacking straight through the fleet here. Quite a lot of action going on in the middle of the screen here. It's Didrik, fearless, cutting through the fleet,
which can be good and bad, since you don't get your free wind. A bunch of downwind sailors, which can take your wind. Oh, and he attacks back, but that can also be good sometimes.
Yeah, it's a risky move sailing into the whole downwind fleet.
And Didrik Dahlberg was actually one of the Swedish World Championship sailors that joined you in Mar del Plata in Argentina now in December, right?
Yes, absolutely. It was very fun to have him there. It was, though, quite strong winds, and he's a bit smaller sailor, but it's fun to see him perform now with the stronger wind too.
Born 2013. So he was the youngest sailor.
No, 2011.
11, sorry.
Yes.
2011, and the youngest sailor in the Swedish World Championship team.
It seemed to be a bit not a very straight gate. The left one seemed to be a bit lower. So I would say that the right one is the favored mark here. And this is also a very easy way to gain some boats, or it's not really easy to make the decision, but when you choose the right one, then you get those extra meters. And we can also see that the people on the left side here sailed a really long way, since they go around the boats. And often you do that to get your free wind. You don't want people to cover you, so you go out a bit more. But in this case, they go out very, very far and take a very longer distance. So sometimes it's even better to go in the middle, since as you can see, it splits up since everyone wants to go to the side. And there you can get a passage with your free wind. If you're behind that, that's often a smart move to make. We can see Harry Wilton here, rounding the left mark. And you also need to be very quick with the main sheet. And since there are very many boats, you want to have a really tight rounding and go high after, so that you don't slip back, because just one wave and you're behind, and then you don't get free wind, you can't tack, and it's often a very hard situation, of course, when it's now very tight.
We can also see that the first boats that rounded the left mark have now tacked, as the boats are going downwind have passed, and the first boats are now from the left and right are going to meet in the middle.
Oh, we saw a British guy here make his way in between the mark and the sailor. Which room is the rule that occurs here, which that if you are inside the between the mark, then you between 3 boat lengths, then you have room, and the guy outside you need to give you space to round. Oftenly when it's very compact, then people don't want to follow this rule. They want to go inside, and that's a big problem, which we maybe saw here. And now every boat has rounding the mark, the gate mark, and we saw the Finnish guys spin, probably because either touching the mark or maybe not giving room.
There's quite a wide spread in the fleet, where the fleet is spread out. Not everyone's not going to same sides.
Here on the second upwind, it's often you stay in the same position, but it's also where most people want to get their revenge. They want to gain back, so therefore many people go bang the left or bang the right, so they bang the corners and then to meet up again, and hopefully that they got some magical shifts or something. But in here in Gold Fleet, everyone wants to do that. So if you bang the left, there are probably like 30 other people who are doing the exact same thing. So that's where it's a bit hard to also gain, since you're not alone banging aside.
Yeah, now we can see the first boats on the ley line to the upward mark coming in from the right sides. And we've still got MLT in the lead.
And with that, we'll go over to the rounding for the yellow fleet, for the red fleet, the bronze fleet.
Yes, here we can see again that it was a bit more left than the yellow fleet, or I mean right. But the left still doesn't look bad, which oftenly here the left is like totally you're gone if you go to the left. But this time it seems to still be okay. Maybe the right is paying a bit more though.
In a day like this, what would you prioritize? The being the gusts or the lifted sides?
I would say first of all you need to analyze the wind a lot. Like what type of wind is it? Is it more gusty wind today, or is it typical Garda day where you want to go to the mountain? Or is it, yeah, you need to see what type of day. You need to analyze the wind, see what's going on with the wind. That's should be one of your preparations, and one thing that you think about before, which you should also include in your plan on what type of plan you make. I would say today it's quite gusty and pressure's coming down. So I would prioritize trying to get the gust and maybe to still be safe, I would position myself closer to the mountain. I would probably not go, I would probably not position myself all the way to the right since it seems to not be paying as much. But still, I would probably not risk it and bang all the way on the left, even though that sometimes can lead to a win, but not always. I did that 2 years ago, banged the left, and unfortunately for me, I came one of the last boats, but another guy in the fleet after did the exact same and he won, so it's always a bit hard. We have Peru, who rounded first around the upwind mark.
In the bronze fleet.
Yes. And we have bailing, very good to bail.
Now we see the boats behind also turning the upward mark and the boats coming into the ley line.
So we have Antonio Remy in the lead for the bronze fleet from Peru.
We can also see here how the boats are already reaching, which therefore they are probably much over ley line. And but the thing is, since there are many people over ley line, you can say, oh well, then you should tack under on ley line so that you gain that. But then you don't have the free wind and your angle is much lower. So there's one decision that you have to make. Okay, should I go over with them and be far over ley line, or should I tack under and not get clear wind?
Regarding the wind, it feels like it's clearly picking up, or what would you say here?
Yeah, I would say it's still an upward trend, but I don't think it will pick up much more. It's picking up now and stabilizing as it is now, I think.
Now we can see that the fleet started reaching to the reaching mark, and
We can see that their angle is very low. Their main sheet is very far out, and therefore it's a very low angle, and it's more closer to a downwind than to a upward close reach.
So we're now approaching the finish. The drone is now approaching the finishing line for the gold fleet. And if you want the view of the studio, we have the other second drone approaching the studio here, where we are sending you live from Road to Gold.
Both seem to have finished. Going back to the start now. I would say we see very many people coming from the starboard ley line, which can maybe have been that the right side has paid, but not sure yet. Also, another small thing that you can gain from is with the finishing line, which side to finish on. Do you want to finish at the windward or leeward end? Here we can see that the left side is very high up, and therefore you finish much later since you got to go a longer distance. Also, we see a Ernst Åkesson here finishing, who is also in the top, who was racing to get a medal. Many people in the top did have a UFD or a black flag, which therefore means that they do not have any more discard that they can do. Ernst, though, he did not have a discard, which is therefore why this maybe could be one of his discards. His before discard was 11, so therefore he does not lose very much on it. But of course, it's always a bit hard on yourself to use your dead discard since we have more races and you never know what happens to those.
Seems like quite a lot of boats are coming in from the left side and going to the higher side of the finish line.
We have Adam Larin here just exiting the screen, who's been sailing really, really strong throughout the regatta, with the exception of yesterday's last race where he really got entangled in the currents.
Ooh. We can also see many people overlaying the ley line to the finishing mark on port. But the people on starboard are a bit lower. So probably a left shift came now in the end. Ooh, we have some situation here with the Danish.
Where they collided and got stuck, which is often something you strongly want to avoid, as when the boat sticks together, you get stuck and it strongly decreases your speeds.
And it's always that last few minutes or seconds, meters. Have you finished the finish line or not? It's a very few meters, which can depend very much.
Especially when there are lots of boats who are trying to finish at the same time.
Yeah, then the 2 meters can be 5 boats sometimes.
What do we have?
And then you might not think, oh, I was just like 1 meter behind, but that 1 meter can be 5 boats, and 5 boats, it's 5 points.
Yeah, the last upwind is quite a short distance, but it is but in the race it can really make a big difference, since you can gain loads of boats by being smart.
Exactly. It's probably back soon.
Yeah, we're calibrating the drones, and we'll be back shortly.
Has finished. Yeah. Now we see that all the boats in Gold Fleet have finished, and they're heading back to the start line.
Uh, no, no, no. No, I can that up.
We are going back to seems to maybe be the Emerald Fleet. Now we can start to see that the left is not paying as much. The right is paying much more. We can also see that the angle is more towards the mountain, which is therefore why the right is paying more.
Yes, we can see that quite a lot of boats have gone very far to the right, but we'll see now if that's going to pay. We can also see that the starboard tack is quite high.
Yes, I agree. Especially the closer to the mountain, we can see a few boats higher there. They're going very high, compared to these boats here.
Yes, we can see that the first boat also was coming in from the right-hand side, and it seems quite empty of boats on the left-hand side. The land must be having an effect here. What do you say, Adele?
Yes, I would agree. But it's having an effect, but it's not the maximum effect. Like we can see that it is favoring, but it's still seems to be fine on the left side. Like it's not too bad. You probably won't win from the left, but you can still have around maybe middle if you come good from the left.
However, could you gain a lift by going to the right-hand side?
Yeah, you get the lift by going on right.
Yep.
We can see. We have Sweden 48, 44, who was coming good from the left here. But we also see that here that the people leading from the right are in front.
It's my Ja.
Nej, inte.
Nu är det bra.
Now we are rounding the top mark here. We can see Latvia 124 in the lead.
He's got quite a big lead to the rest of the fleet, where the boats behind are now coming to the upwind mark. There seems to be quite split of some boats coming in from the left line and some coming from the right, but we've seen that the boats coming from the right was favored.
Yes, we have Janis Werners, who's in the lead from Latvia.
We can also see that the reach is quite a low angle, where the sail is quite far out in comparison to a high reach.
Ooh, here we have a Chinese sailor. They came a far distance to compete here in the Garda Easter meeting.
Yes, we also have a boat from Australia, which is
Ooh.
quite far distance.
Yeah, I remember I spoke to one at one European Championships, which was in Denmark, so it's still Europe, and they traveled 48 hours to get to Europe, which is a very long distance.
That's a really, really long distance. Now we see, as the race before, the boat's going quite high on the reach. However, we see one boat going very low.
We have also Great Britain 6689, who is Lumia Greenaway, rounding here. And with the reach, we have one person, as you said, who's going very low, which can help, but can also.
It looks like he's got clear wind though. The boats are a lot higher.
Yeah, he got a very big distance, which is good if you go down. And also, it seems to be much more distance from each boat, so maybe there can come some wind, and not as in the Gold Fleet where it was very, very compact and not much wind can pass through. Here, maybe more wind can pass through that he can get. So, in this scenario, I think the going down can be good. We see another one taking after him, also going down now.
We also see that some of the boats are reaching to the upwind mark, which means that they must have overlaid the ley line.
Yes, probably now when they see that the right people gained and you're behind, then you go out and then tack on the free wind behind or like over everyone on the starboard ley line. So that's oftenly why many people ley line over ley line. Here we can see like a triangle, the people that are on the ley line and the people that are very, very far over, as the German here.
Yes, that can also mean that the wind must have shifted up from the right-hand side, which they might not have expected.
So we will now watch the finishing line of the finish of the gold fleet. We have quite a few favorites missing from the top positions here in itself. I mean, we have Charlie Holland now being surpassed by Iska Supardi. Go Malta!
And Charlie Holland, it is his birthday today. He's turning 12, so we say a big happy birthday to him.
And we actually have in third place here Freya from Denmark, the leading female sailor.
Yes, which is very fun. She came third now, so maybe she can climb in the total too, to not just get the first place, but also, of course, a nice position against the boys too. We have Didrik Dahlberg, who seems to have here on the meta tracking sixth place, which is very good since he is in the 31st position, one place from a plate. And a good position is in gold does gain a lot. Maybe you don't think so much, but in gold, it's you race against the people you are around. So that good position can make you jump a lot in the results.
Just behind him on that. So with that, we'll go for a little break. We'll be back shortly, but Vanya and Adele, big thanks for leading us through these first races.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and watching.
Yeah, and everyone stay tuned, and we will be back shortly for the second race of today. So we're sending the drones out to prepare for the Gold Fleet start, the second Gold Fleet race, and all the three of us will be back shortly. Stay tuned. So we see that the committee boats just hoist the orange flag. So approximately 10 minutes to start. Uh, so we're now preparing for the start for the second race of the Gold Fleet today. The wind has been picking up. There was quite a lot of I wouldn't say surprises, but new stars in the top for the first Gold Fleet race. So it will be very interesting to see how this plays out. While the sailors prepare for the start, we will tune in to meet up with one of our sponsors here from Bestwind. Thanks for that. And we're now back with the footage from the preparing for the start procedure hasn't really started. So we have the orange flag up. And here in the studio with me, I have Vanya Ramm-Ericson and Adele Ramm-Ericson. Vanya, who just finished the on top for best U19 women at Ilka 6 Easter Regatta here in Malcese. And Adele, who also second among women, but in Ilka 4, also in Malcese this week. But Vanya, you used to sail, well, you started sailing in Sweden and you sailed in Malta, but then you also sailed for Millfield in England. How was that?
Yes, I've sailed in many different countries and places. And in England, I sailed in Weymouth, which was often quite windy and waves, but also in Malta, which has open sea and offers quite a lot of wind and waves and rough conditions.
So you studied 2 years at Millfield boarding school, right, in Somerset, next to Weymouth, and Weymouth is naturally famous for the 2012 London Olympics.
Exactly. Yes, I studied at Milford, which is a sports school. And then I sailed at the venue Weymouth. And there I sailed Fever, with my partner Maya Dellen.
But you're both now Ilka 6 sailors, right?
Yes, we both now compete against each other in the Ilka 6.
And which is the big event for the year?
The big event for the year is LA, which is the Youth World Championships in the US.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. So we're very much looking forward to that. But also in LA, you have your sister sailing in the Ilka 4, right?
Yes. I just switched from Altis and I'm going directly into Ilka's 4 and starting to compete now. I was now in Maltsashini, finished 14 and second girl. And yeah, LA is the big one. I'm also going to the Europeans in Puck in Poland.
Nice. And now, if we tune into the Gold Fleet second race here, we see that it's 5 minutes to start, or a little less.
Yes, we can see the boats crowded and waiting for the start.
Many boats also waiting over the line. Um, Probably like looking at the wind, seeing going some upwind, seeing the angles, which is very good to do before to know what's coming, to have some analyzation.
Adele, do you have a start plan and sequence that you do before the start?
I don't have it written down, but I have the stuff that I know that I want to do. First of all, I normally start with doing a speed test, since the speed is always very, very important, so that you can optimize your performance through the race. And when I feel that my speed is good, I've checked the trim, then I normally go off to look at the wind. How is the wind behaving? Sometimes do check the sides, which one is paying, and how much wind. And then I go back into the start and check the starting line. So that's roughly the big things that I do.
Mm. Sounds good. Now we can see all the boats lining up on the start line. Many boats are sailing towards the pin end of the start line.
As we saw in their first race, the left did pay off very much, and many of the top sailors were more at the right. But now they seem to, many boats seem to be at this pin end this race too. But we saw that for the other fleets like silver and bronze and emerald, they had a bit more, it started going more and more right. The right started to pay more with the land effect.
Yes, since the wind is now picked up and is very gusty, the favored side could differ.
Yes, and we see that there is barely any people at the other starting line, mostly at this starting line. And oftenly what people do is they get their information from the last race. But so many people probably think that the left is gonna come, and they can maybe think that for the whole day. But it's very important to get the new information. See, is that still accurate for now?
Yeah, we can see there's a bit of a hole closer to the pin end where not a single boat is at the end.
We can see Oscar Nettelid, who's sailing off here, and there are quite few boats waiting here in this small gap, which they seem to wanting to start there closer to the pin end. As we saw last start, it was very, very much crowded, and these boats were already fighting for the pin end already at the start of the starting line. But now there is much more space, and more boats are near the middle line, and you can see that it's quite straight with a bit top here in the middle, which we can see that they are closing up very close to the line, maybe a little bit over.
We can also see that there are barely any boats on the right side of the committee. So the leeward pin seems to be very favored.
We can see that boats are starting to go now, especially if one starts to go up, they kind of pull up the whole fleet. So there's a Norwegian and a British quite pushing the line at the top. And then there is also Didrik Dahlberg following with behind the Norway guy.
We can see the boats close to the pin are struggling to make the mark and are
Yes,
drifting down.
For example, the Mexican guy is going to have it very tough to start there, especially when there are starboard boats coming.
We can also see that there are many boats in the middle who seem to be over the line.
There are very many over there, very far over, and very clear for the line too. So this are probably gonna have very many black flags if they let it go. We can see that the Maltese 192, which is Sasha, is in the lead or has a very good start here, which she started went right the last race, which maybe did not pay at the end because of the left, and therefore she learned from that mistake and went left. And we can now see that it is a general recall, which was right, since there are so many boats over. and they get a new chance now. Hopefully, they will stay under the line.
We've seen from our Ilka 6 regatta in Martin that there was a very strong current one day pushing all the boats up the line, which resulted in many general recalls for each of the fleets. Could this be a similar situation?
No, I do not think so. Now, I think many people are pushing the lines themselves because they want better. They want better results. They are wanting that revenge. I don't think there's any current today. Yesterday there was strong current pushing them down. Maybe some people can have that in their mind, thinking that there was a big banana yesterday or a lot pushing back, so they have the same drive forward. Though today we don't have as much pushback, so that can result in some over.
Yeah, no, interesting comment. We saw in the last start for the Gold Fleet, there was a bit of an under banana actually, and here we see the opposite.
Yes, especially now after the first race, maybe I mean it's just getting less and less race, so I guess more people just want to push, push, and push. But gold fleet is usually when you compare gold to maybe silver or bronze, mostly there are more general recalls in silver and bronze, and they push more than the people in gold because the people in gold usually they want to protect their position. They don't want to push even more, mostly.
Yes, especially as we're coming up to the last races of the regatta. Many boats probably feel that they want to perform their best and finish off well in the regatta. So all the boats seem very eager to start high.
Exactly, yeah. Today is with the conditions, it's like a typical Garda day with the wind, the aura that came, and when we first came out, it was no wind. That was probably the wind shifting, and now it has filled in. But there is no sun, which is a bit sad because there's always nice when you have a little sun when you're sailing.
Could you explain how the aura works?
Of course. So the wind here in Garda, it starts in the morning with the polar wind, which is the wind coming from land, so coming from north. And that wind is the north wind breezing in. And then when the sun comes out and it hits the mountains, it then heats up the mountains, which results in air rising. And then the air fills in, and that's then the wind that's coming from the south that we are sailing with now. And that's why the wind always dies by lunch and it shifts to the other side, and that is also called the aura wind, which we are sailing with today.
Yes, that is the current wind, and
And therefore, when it's raining, it's oftenly more to have polar wind because there is no sun to heat up the mountains to get the aura wind. An interesting thing is that when there's aura wind, there's oftenly more wind here in Riva than in Malsashini, Malsashana. And but then the opposite, when it's polar, then it's less wind here in Riva and more in Malsashana.
now we can see all the boats gathering around the committee and the starting line, all waiting for the 5 minute sequence to start.
From last year Garda Easter meeting, we had polar wind every day, which is very unusual here for Garda. Since it's usually much more sun and always the aura wind, but now last year it was rain every day. It was pouring down rain. It was like you were taking a shower. It was just running down, and the polar wind, which was very, very shifty, and that was why it was quite hard conditions and many shifts, and really need to had a lot of analysis, and you really had to know what the wind were doing. You had to always be 2 steps ahead.
I think that's quite similar to the wind that we've had in the last couple of days in Marseille. It's been very predictable and unstable, with the wind increasing and decreasing and lots of rain and clouds.
Yeah. But today there was some sun which peaked out, but the clouds took over now. But the wind is still staying strong. We can see that the 5 minutes have gone here in the Gold Fleet start. Many people still waiting close to the committee boat to get the time right to sync the clock.
Yes, we can also say that the black flag is raised.
What does the black flag mean?
The black flag means that if you're over in the last minute, you can't.
You get disqualified. And if the difference with the U flag and the black flag is that if you're over the last minute with the U flag and it's a restart and you were over, then you can race again. But if you got the black flag and there's a restart, then you're kicked out and you're not allowed to race the race. Which is why the black flag is raised now after, to scare the people and to make sure that they stay down. Because then if you're over, and you don't have any other opportunities that race.
Yeah, and then you can't proceed the race. We can see that there's a huge gathering around the committee boats, and the further pin looks quite quiet and not a lot of boats there.
But we do have Didrik Dahlberg there, here in the middle of the picture.
Who finished roughly 6th in the last race and is a placing of 31 from the last day's results.
So that could be a sailor to watch.
Adele, what do you think on a day like this? Would it be smart to start a bit away from the big clump to get free wind, or do you want to be on the very favoured side of the starting line?
That is a little personal decision to make. The start is very very important, and if you're very good at starting and you know that you can start, then I think that it can be good to start it with the clump. It's like if you're good in that tight situation and that you can get a good start from there, then it can be good, since you are at the favorite side, because that's often where the clump is, because the clump want to start at the favorite side. But if you're not as good at that tight situation, and there's often much less probability that you will get out of that situation, and therefore it can be better to not start where it's mostly crowded, and maybe start not the favorite side, but a bit at the side of the clump, so that you can get a good start, because there it's much more chance that you get a good start, but maybe you don't have the best start because they are at the more favored side, but you get out much better and you get free wind oftenly. So for me, I was not as good at starting, so I tried to start where it was a bit less boats, so that I could get out free and sail my own race, instead of needing to tack and try to get out, and I then would get a bad start.
Girls, you have your brother here next to the pin, 4905, Casper. You see that Didrik has already sailed up to the starting line.
We see one person here doing which we call varianten, which you sail from one side to the other over everyone right at the line. You can see it's a very brave move, and he's exactly on the line, sailing over everyone on port. So very brave for him, and it seems that it can go good here.
But seems that it could work, but it's very risky, since it was general recall last start, because the majority were over.
And it's often best when there's a very big banana and many people are under, because then you go over everyone. But here it was quite straight lines, a bit peaking there in the middle, and we can see Maltese, I think Isaac, who did a port tack and crossed everyone. That last boat.
We could also see some boats who got stuck at the pin end and struggled to make it past the pin, and attacking very many times.
We have winning the pin end. We have Sasha with the best star from the pin. Then we have a Grease, which is falling down a bit, but she's going low, gaining her speed, and therefore maybe can get some free win there under. We see Harry Wilton from Sweden also attacking now from a very good star, and we can see that the pin end did favor very much, and they seem to be in a very good position right now.
It's interesting. We can see that most of the boats started at the windward pin, tack directly, whereas many who started at the leeward pin continue.
I think it can be since people tacked very early, and if you don't tack before them, then you often think that you want to go under and continue going so that you can tack out into the free wind as the Portuguese did here.
And what do we thinking this race? Will the left side be as favored?
Well, we can see the angle. They go more with the mountain than towards the mountain. So I think it can be a little bit similar pattern to the first race. But you never know, maybe it can shift down or the rights can gain still.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which side will pay off. We can see that there are quite a lot of boats heading closer and to the mountain. And we can also see Turkey 1772. It is in free wind and quite high up.
He is Klug Johanna. Johanna Klug. Nee. Sorry. From Turkey, 1773, which seems to be in the lead, is Birinkulu Aliseduru, which is a female from Turkey, which is in 19th position. Also one of the top then. She is in the 3rd position from female.
Now we can see that the boats who went left have also tacked, heading to the right side of the course.
We can see that the right side is gaining a bit here, or the people who are positioned in the middle seem to be in the top here. And we also see here
there also seems to be a bit more wind on the right side of the course, close to the mountain.
We have Ernst Åkesson from Sweden who tacked out here into a free lane, who before today was in 6th position, which the first race unfortunately didn't go as good, but he can use it as a discard since before he had an 11, which he was discarding. And in this race, he does have a free lane and it looks good from the left side, but it looks like the right side is starting to gain more and more.
It looks like the same tactic as the last race won't work as well in this race. And
I think it looks like there's a bit more wind, even though maybe not as much shift is going to the mountain, but it seems to be more wind near to the mountain. So that is one factor why I think the right is going better.
Definitely. In a position like this, you have to watch out to not overlay when you go to the right side, as we've seen in the past races.
We have Greece here, 3023, Desponavarsaki, who is also a girl. We have Leonardo here, who seems to be in quite top position. Hopefully, since he's in 2nd position, and the first race did not go very well from his before results, and he does have an UFD, so he cannot count. He uses his discard for that race since he has maximum points. So hopefully he can't discard any other race, so he really needs to try to top it.
We can now see that the boats went furthest to the right, have tacked, and it's going to be interesting to see if they would cross or not the left sides.
We saw Arthur Brughetti there, who was leading now, who looked like, but is wondering if Arthur Brughetti can cross the people from the right or not.
Yes,
Arthur Brughetti is then in a third position before today.
Seems like the people from the right are sailing very high angle of the tack.
Yeah, that can be because of the shift, maybe.
In the beginning of the race, it looks quite even with the boats on the left and right. However, now it looks like the boats from the right are
yes.
full.
Yeah, these two Italians seem to be leading, or if we get, maybe they seem to be in a very good position, which Jesper Karlsson is maybe in the leading right here, and we can see that he maybe can hold. He's since he's in the leading position, maybe he can get another bullet in his stack.
Ooh, interesting. No, going right was a smart move. Now we see that the two top Italians are on the ley line and on the way to the upwind mark. We can also see that some boats have gone quite high on the ley line, so we'll see if they've overlaid or not.
Yes, we can also see down at the left how they're not really performing as good down there. It seems to be very much better on the right side. It was paid very much more.
Yes, it looks like the people on the boats on the right also have more wind and are sailing on a slightly higher angle.
Here we have Egenaz Ayudin from Turkey, which seemed to be maybe in a third position. Since she is in 41st, then this race can mean a lot in going up in the results. We also have USA here, who seems to be gaining more and more, maybe from being more to the right. Reeds Gibbs. We also have Adrian Kalin from Sweden here in a great position from the right. Also, we have Lovisa Axi from Sweden. And we have another German here, but he seems to be overlaying. As we can see that he's going more at a reach angle. But he is going faster because of his reach angle. So he doesn't seem to be doing too bad.
It's going to be interesting to see if the first boats will make it without tacking or not. So we'll see.
Then it would be like a one tack upwind where they went port towards the mountain and then tack the one tack towards the mark.
Yep.
We can see that the left side is having it much harder. It seems to be maybe not as much wind, and the shift from the right paid much more. So starting at the pin end and continuing to the left was probably not a smart move in this exact race. We have Jesper Karlsson at the rounding the top mark as its first position.
Coming in from the right side. And we have another Italian and USA behind.
We have Nina Cesari in second place.
We can also see that the reach angle is quite low, and that more boats have overlaid the ley line as they're going, reaching to the mark.
It seems like quite similar to many races here, with the right side paying and overlaying.
Yes, it's interesting to see as in the last race, the boats coming in from the left were doing quite well. But here we see that the boats coming in from the right.
We have Mary Greenaway here also rounding right now from GBR.
Mm. It seems as many boats are overlaying from the right side, whereas the boats from the left side are going under the ley line.
Now we are at the Silver Star, which had a general recall.
Mhm.
They seem to also be pushing the line since they also had the general recall. Um, as said before, the Silver Fleet tends to have more general recalls than Gold, since more people in Silver want that revenge and they want to get really out everything on the last day, rather than the people in Gold. They want to keep their position and maybe not risk too much.
Yeah, what would you say is the reason for the general recall? As when it's windy, like a day like today, it's quite uncommon for general recalls as the wind pushes the boats down.
Yeah. It's often harder to or it's less common to have general recalls now with more wind and especially with waves. But they tend to still want. It's a really long line, so that can also be a reason, since it's so much longer to one of the boats, which gives you a less sense to know where the line is. And one thing that you can do if the line is long and since you want to start more in the middle is take a transit, is when you look at the line straight and then take a place on land, to then when you're at the starting line, you can look at that transit again and see where you are. Are you under your transit or are you over? And therefore that can help if you are over or under the line, so that you have an idea on where you are positioned on the line.
Yeah, transit can give you a much clearer view of where you are on the land. However, on the line, however, it only works in a place like Garda and where you have land, so
Yeah.
it doesn't work in open sea, for example.
Maybe it's a bit hard though here, since it's mostly mountain and bushes. Maybe it's hard to, you know, maybe you can find a house or something, but maybe there's something out there that someone can use.
You can see that the general recall flag is still up. Um,
So we're currently switching to a recap from Metasail of the rounding from the gold fleet, and after that we will join them with the drones at the gate.
We see that Nina Cesari, who rounded second behind Jesper Carlsen, she was in fourth position for the girls, which maybe after this race she can probably jump up a bit since this helps a lot with coming second. Hopefully she can stay in that position. So now we are back at the Gold's Downwind, and there is a very big lead here for Jesper Carlsen. Seems to be fast at Downwind. Garda is a very good training place and also competing for Downwind since the waves are quite compact, which makes you need to work a lot on the downwind. You can't just sit there if you want to be very fast. You get your surf and then you need to try to steer so that you first of all you don't crash into the wave in front, and then also to keep your speed and to keep your surf for a longer period of time.
yes, it looks very gusty as well, and you could probably gain quite a few boats by sailing in the gusts and where there's more wind. We can also see there's quite a wide spread of the boats and a split of boats going either side.
Yeah, it's definitely around these boats where it's very far apart now. It's definitely that group or the not the first, but also not the last, but in the middle there. Those are the ones that tend to spread out the most and go the biggest way around because it's definitely most compact there, and they want to get free wind. Very big lead here for Jesper Carlsen, who is actually also half Norwegian.
We can see that coming closer to the downwind gates. We can see that he's quite far on the right side of the downwind course.
I would say if looking at the marks, yeah, he is quite far to the right and now going full downwind to the last part here. And the people that went more left, it can pay a bit more since you go the straight away. And if you would take the bigger banana on the right side, you would probably tend to go a much further distance.
Going straight to the mark can often pay off as you sail a shorter distance.
Yeah.
But I mean, going sides to get more wind or free wind can also pay.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see which gate mark he's going to choose. I would assume it's the right one as it's closer.
We also have here from USA Reed Gibbs, who seem to be taking the second place soon, or it's quite fighting here against Nina Cesari. Here from Poland, we have Nosol Stanisław. Jesper Karlsson, who has been performing a lot now, who won the Regatta of Champions. Which is fun since the Italians have won each year now at the Rock with Avanzani, who won the last 2 years. And he seemed to, with this far leading, it is likely that he will stay in the lead, maybe, which is very nice since he has very many bullets here and hopefully can keep counting mostly bullets and maybe 1 second now from last race.
And how many bullets does he have in total?
He has 5 bullets out of 7 race.
That's very, very impressive. Now let's see who's rounding the windward mark and sailing closer to land. Seems like the boats behind are also going to choose the same mark.
Yes. Maybe not Poland, though. He seems to maybe be taking his own way. But Reed Gibbs rounds here as a second place from USA, followed by Germany, and then Nina.
And coming up to rounding like this, what is important to think about?
First of all, one thing is you need to make sure that your trim is checked and right. Many people, or it's right to let go of the sprit since it's too tight on the downwind, and you can either fix it before or after. But if you do it after, it's sometimes you need to stop, and so it's preferably to do it before, but it can also be harder to do before. And then if you have changed the outsole, it's also good to do that. But to think about is where you want to go on the second upwind. You gotta look that before you make your decision on the rounding. Do you want to go left? Do you want to go right? You need to check the wind. Where does it seem to be more wind? And you can also check other factors like where are most people going and those tactical things. As if you are more far behind and if you want to take a riskier way, you maybe want to go where there are less people so that you can have a more chance of gaining more. Or if you are at the front, you maybe want to go where the others are going to secure your place. Because if you're in front and go all alone, that is seen as very risky since you have no one else beside you, and it's you can lose many boats, but you can also get into first position.
Yeah, doing a good mark rounding and not being in the second lane could be crucial to maintaining your position, as it's often quite difficult to tack directly after when there's a whole fleet coming downwards.
Yes, Johannes Busk seems to have a nice rounding here at the left from Denmark. So it's nice when you have space and not a very big crowded rounding.
The right mark seems to be slightly higher up.
Yeah, I would agree. Maybe quite similar like the last race.
Yeah. And the boats who went left have already tacked and are sailing into the downwind fleet.
Yeah. Now it's starting to get more and more crowded. More boats coming in now. And it's very important to plan your rounding also if it's this crowded.
We can see that there's a wide spread of the boats and the downwind. Yeah.
We have Ruben Roth and Amanda Pettersson from Sweden rounding the right. And here comes Didrik getting a bit stuck and making some chaos. But we also have Ernst here, who we saw before, who was in a very good position on the left, but seems as the right took over very much, which created this position that he is now. And meeting some downwind boats is always a bit complicated.
Seems like many of the boats went left are attacking quite quickly after rounding the mark. And sailing through the downwind fleet, probably to get to the right side of the course.
Here we have Antonio Moreira rounding the windward mark, which with space, which is always nice.
In a day like today, Ado, what would you say are the most important factors? Is it the boat speed, the start, the tactics?
It's a bit mixture. I would say maybe the tactics and strategy is the most important, but the other, the start and the speed depends on if you can do your tactical plan or not. If you don't have a good start, then that changes a lot on where you sail and how you sail.
I feel like the start is one of the most important, as if you get a bad start and not have a clear lane, it can be really difficult to sail in free wind to the side that you want.
Yeah. With talking about having your free wind and you're sailing where you want, we have Jesper Carlsen, who has a big lead here and much free wind. He's crossing over the left side and probably making sure that he has everyone there too, since he started off on the right, and tacking over to keep the people on the left, on the right.
Yeah, that's a safe move, and he seems to be he seems to be in a quite big lead.
It's very smart when you are leading to attack over there and cross everyone, or at least most, and then attack back, because then you have the control over them and it's harder to lose a lot then. If you, for example, bang aside when you're leading, that is very risky, since there are many boats that then can pass you if the side didn't go as good.
It also seems like the majority, or not now, quite a lot of boats are instantly tacking.
We have
I assume going to the ley line.
here from Germany, Paul Fett. He seems to have taken maybe the Polish and going over here, crossing the left side.
Seems like most of the boats have gone to the right, the last upwind on their way to the finish line.
Yeah, it seems to be the positioning of the whole fleet seems to be more on the right side.
When coming closer to the finish line, it can be a good idea to think about which side you want to finish on the
Yes.
start line.
Yes, as we can see here, it's it's not completely straight. And there, if you finish on the windward side, it's further down, and therefore it can be closer, or you sail a less distance. So therefore, it's better to finish on that side since you finished before. And that is more extra important when it's very compact and many boats finishing at the same time, because then that 1 meter can mean a lot.
Now we see Jesper just tacked and is sailing to the finish line. And he's also choosing the windward side of the finish line, which is slightly lower.
And there he finishes with his 6 bullets, and this one also in gold fleet, securing that first place.
That is very impressive. Now,
He's only counting bullets and a second place.
right now, let's see the rest of the fleet. As we've got USA.
Reed Gibbs coming in at a second place, with also gaining some distance, where he didn't round the first upwind mark second, but gained throughout the race.
We've also got Germany.
Who is Paul, who is also quite close in third position. We have Leon Blaine from USA here ducking the other boats. Oh, and Poland tacks on. That is a save for Poland to make sure that he is in front and that USA does not starboard him later.
Now it's getting a bit more crowded around the finishing line, with more boats gathering up.
We can see how Leon tried to go higher there to put his boat through the finishing line before. And we can see if you continue going starboard there, it's very low, and it takes much more time to cross the finishing line than if you would come on a port tack. We have Adrian Kalin here and Lovisa Axi finishing from Sweden.
Then we can also see a few boats here coming in from the left, ports.
For example, Germany 2093, Julius.
Here we have a boat from Mexico coming in. And
here we also have Laszlo Drummond coming from the left ley line, closer, finishing in the middle.
And here we see a few boats coming in from the left and finishing slightly more to the leewards end of the finishing line.
We have from Puerto Rico here, ducking a starboard boat from Puerto Rico, Diego. Also another Puerto Rican. Ooh, tight situation there when you need to make it past the finishing line. Here we see Sasha from the starboard getting up to the finishing line, who won the pin and start. So this can show how important the upwind is and which side you go. Since even if you win the pin end and it looked good, maybe the right can count.
Yeah, going to the wrong end of the upwind can
pay a very big difference.
Yes.
We also have Gracie Alsop here, who is maybe not getting reaching the finishing line. Maybe has to tack. Oh, she
Oh,
tacks.
yeah, tack.
We have Amanda Pettersson finishing here, just right reaching it.
Adele, what would you say is important to think about when coming up to the last upwind?
For the last upwind, the finishing I think is very, very important. There you can lose 10 boats just from the finishing, since as you can see, they all are in like a one line, but in different positions. So there it's very important to come in at a right position. You don't want to be like ducking boats. You really want to make sure that to thrive for each meter.
We can also see another boat finishing at the other end of the finish line, which is the first boat that we see do this.
Yeah, he finished really right at the end. Who is seems to be Oscar Nettelid from Sweden, who is in a 11th position before today. Or no, it's not Oscar Nettelid. 49.19. That was Elsa Bejard, who is in the second place girls and a 15th overall.
We can now see also quite a lot of boats coming in from the right-hand side and sailing on starboard now to the finish line.
For example, Sisu Sellio from Finland here. And Gustav Westberg from Sweden. We have
There doesn't seem to be a trend of boats coming from either of the sides. There's more a mix. Some boats coming from the left, some boats from the right, some from the middle.
yeah, it seems quite equal on the sides.
Since it's quite a short upwind, the side that you choose to go on doesn't have as big of an effect.
Yeah, since you have less meters to lose or to gain. We have Darcy finishing here from Great Britain.
Now we can see some of the last boats coming in from the left side in the Gold Fleet, and finishing around the middle of the finishing line.
Here we have Isa Kaplan finishing. He was in a 5th position before today. One of the last boats now, though. But he had a 12 that he was discarding. So depending on the first race, that this might can be his discard. We are looking here from the reach mark for the Silver Fleet, which is coming here, rounding the upwind mark.
We can see that the first few boats have rounded the upwind mark, and a lot of boats are still on the upwind. As seen before, it seems to be quite a low reach, with lots of patchy gusts.
Yes, and from this angle, we can probably see how the boats tend to go, which way. Do they go more under or do they go more on over banana? If you are first or at the top, you obviously have a easier way to go straight to the mark since you have not as much boats behind or anyone who's pushing you up. A very often thing is someone from the behind who's maybe a bit faster. They go over you since they want to take your wind, but you don't want them to take your wind. So then you also go up, and then that starts that small fighting, and you keep going upwards, which can lead to getting the very big over banana.
Yeah, if you're first, you have a free choice, so you don't have to adjust your plan to the boats in front of you.
Yeah, so if you're first, it's always easier to sail, and the further behind, the harder it is.
We can also see that there's one boat was chosen to go quite low in comparison to all the other boats. We'll see if that will pay off or not. It can be quite smart move as you can get free wind if you sail very low, but we'll see if it works.
Yeah, we can see they go in quite straight line. There's no very big banana or big straight that way.
We could also see an Ilka 7 sailor here coming into the fleet.
Yeah, sailing straight through the straight into the course. At least he's not sailing there when there are boats, because that can be a big disturbance.
He's sailing and rounding the reaching mark. Oh no, he's going down. Well, now we see the first boat of the Optimus Blue Fleet coming closer to the mark.
We can see the further behind, they start to go a bit up there. Meanwhile, the ones in the front here are more going in a straight line.
We can see that some of the boats are going extremely low.
Yeah. I think if you go that low, it's nearly like straight downwind down.
Yes, in my opinion, I would say maybe a bit too low.
Well, it could be good and bad since yeah, it's a very big spread.
We'll see if the first boat here chooses to go straight, to the right, to the left, on downwind.
We have Tom Keegan in the lead, who chooses to go more of a left from Great Britain. We see now how far how the end they come in a position where they go downwind towards the mark. Meanwhile, the ones that go low, they continue their reach, and it's often there where they gain the most.
You can see quite a big of spread of the boats, even if they're all sailing the same line to the same mark, where some choose to go quite low and some quite high and some choose the middle.
Yeah, here we see Jaques Kent going straight to the left, and we have the black flags from the race 7. We have Malta 158, which is Isaac. Then we have Malta 186, Brazil 4365, Germany 2090, Malta 192, Denmark 8763, USA 15051, which was second place. We have Spain 3424, India 1632, Italy 251,
Lithuania 410, Italy 9921, and Italy 217. We also have in the blue fleet, this is Spain 3250, USA 23312, and Great Britain 9469.
and unfortunately, some of these are in the top. For example, Italy 251, which is Leonardo Scalpi, was in second place before today, and he already has a UFD, so this will be his second, which he can't count away. So this can be a really big effect on his results, unfortunately. And also we saw Sasha, who from Malta, 192, who won the pin end. Unfortunately, that was also a BFD. And it's really sad because the pin end is a very, very risky start, since it's not only very hard to start there, and it's also very risky for the black flag.
Now we're at the start line again. We can see the gold fleet gathered around the committee boats. Waiting for the last start of the regatta to be set off.
Now I think many can have their revenge mindset because they want to get the last out of this last race. Hopefully it's not another general recall, and hopefully not too many boats get another black flag. What are some of your stuff that you do before you start? For example, in this situation.
Firstly, before the start, I like to check my speed, preferably with another boat, just my boat speed. And then I also check which side of the starting line is favored. I do that either with my compass or with another boat where we both sail from either side of start line and then meet to see who's ahead. I also like to try and do a few accelerations from the committee side and to look at the upwind, see which side is favorable, where the wind is, where the gusts are, and what could possibly affect my upwind.
Great stuff to do. Yeah, it's really good to test your acceleration, for example, to know how long time it takes to get the boat to start, since that's different for each conditions.
Yes, I think the acceleration is very important, as if you don't accelerate as well as the people around you, you could risk falling behind, and that could have a detrimental effect if you're sailing in a fleet as big as this.
Yeah, and I've experienced sometimes getting now with more wind, you get stuck in the wind and your boat goes backwards when you want to start accelerating. And that is very annoying, unfortunately, because you're going backwards instead of going forwards. But it's just keep going, and you need to make sure to not go too high and to stay too high, too close to the wind too long, because then you will get stuck in the wind.
Now we can see that the 5 minute start sequence has started.
Yes.
And the boats are circling around the committee.
So this is the last race of the 43rd Garda Easter meeting. This is the last race in gold, and the podium is still very open. For example, now when Leonardo Scalpi got his second black flag.
With that said, anything can happen, and anyone can come to the top.
So keep fighting and don't give up.
Wise words from Adele. Now we can see some boats sailing towards the windward side of the Comitians. We can also see that the wind is quite strong. It's as stable as a last race, but it's still quite gusty.
Yeah, there's quite many puffs, and Garda, there are always many windsurfers. So oftenly, if the windsurfers are going, then yeah, the wind is going good, and oftenly that can lead to the mountain being better.
In the first race of today, the right side wasn't as favored. However, in the second race, the right side was very favored. So we'll see what this race has to offer.
I think it's going in a trend more and more towards the right. So I would think that the right would pay off in this race.
We can see that there are barely any boats on the left side of the committee boats.
Yeah, as for last race, it was the exact opposite. I think from the last race, people thought that the left was gonna pay because that was what happened in the first race. But now they have learned from that, and they go from what they know from last race, which is that the right is better.
A big clump of boats on the windward end of the pin could indicate that the right is favored, as the boats assuming want to tack directly to come closer to land.
We have from Italy, Gionata Fravesi, who is seemed to have a nice position here by the committee. And we see very many boats here and very many line. And are all these boats going to get on the line?
We see that a lot of boats outside of the starting line are quite high up. It's going to be difficult to come make it into the starting line.
Yeah.
When there are so many boats already lined up, it can be difficult for the boats outside of the starting line to secure a spot.
Yeah, since it's very compact, there is not much space for another boat to come past. We see Oscar Nettelid, who was very far high, which can be quite smart since you drift quite a lot, and then when you are ahead and in front of them, then often they think that they need to move. So you get that spot. And we see that he got into the line now quite well. But we see people who were trying to get into the line and who couldn't find a spot, they come back and line up here and try to get a spot. We see Ernst Åkesson trying to get up here in the line, but he is finding it a bit difficult, especially with the wind, to get an acceleration up.
We can all see that all the boats are quite high up on the line. We can see that some of the boats in the middle are over and the start is right about to go.
We see Casper Ramm-Ericson from Sweden here, who is about the first boat from the line, and the start has gone now. It seems to be a fine start. Some boats over, but as you can see, it's still a banana, but it's fine. Casper Ramm-Ericson is the first guy who tacks now, and he makes it past it, and he got a little space behind since the boat behind
You can
stuck him.
say that this is a general recall, so there's quite a few boats were over in the middle of the starting line.
Yeah, we saw the boat here who signaled a general recall.
Nej, men alltså
Okay, so for the last race now, we saw that they were pushing the line. It was very compact, and boats were over, and therefore we have this general recall.
we expect to see a black flag now in the next race.
And hopefully the boats get a bit scared and stay under the line.
Hopefully. We also assume that the boats will, on the other hand, be pushing since it's the last race of the regatta.
It's always annoying when you get a good start and it's a general recall. Since you actually finally ooh, I got it, you got a good start, but then then you don't always think that, oh well, maybe you were over. So very normal topic to talk about right after the general recall is how good of a start you got, or also how bad of a start you got, and how glad you are that it is a general recall. But it's always nice to have an extra chance, even if it was good or if it was bad. So you get also more training, so it's still good.
No, it's fair to redo the start if lots of the boats were over. And we'll see now if
Yeah, it's really annoying when boats are over, like very many, it's a big banana, and they just let it go. Since then it's really unfair. Boats are over and they can't take everyone, so it's very good here as they did put a general recall.
we'll see if the boats will be a bit further down now in the last race and play a bit more safe. To not risk getting a black flag in the last race.
But also people with not as good results, or what they find they're not maybe as proud with their results yet, so they maybe can risk that black flag because they just want they maybe want to really chance to get that last.
We can
good
also
race.
see that the 5-minute start sequence has gone off. And we're going into the last race of this year's regatta. We can see that the last start, there was a general recall. It's quite different from the start before, where nearly all the boats started on the right side of the starting line, due to the favor of the right side of the course. And when one side is this favored, it can be tricky sometimes to find a spot.
Yeah,
And
because everyone wants to start there.
so it could be a smart move to come a bit earlier to the starting line and not in the last minute.
Yeah, a problem that I had when I sailed Optimist was that I always came in the line too late, and then it's a bit hard to find a spot, especially if it's very crowded. And then that often leads to not a good start because the time is ticking. And if you're there early and you don't like the position you're in, you always have time to switch, and it's always good to be earlier than too late, I would say.
Now we see most of the fleet reaching to the windward end of the pin.
Yeah, they start by the committee there to get the time, and then they make their way to this pin end. Not yet. People are on the line lining up. Most of them are still making their way to the pin end, but now we can see boats are starting to attack back and sailing towards the line. We can see USA here.
The boats are starting to gather up and find their place on the line. Being early is quite a smart move if it's this crowded and busy on the right side of the starting line. We can also see there's a clump of boats on the windward side of the pin, and that could be a bit tricky to find a spot.
Yeah, there are
if you're too
very
high up.
many collisions here, as we saw with the Maltese and Finn Ramus, since it's very tight here and not many people care about these small touching each other boats, and there are many protests being called out, but not many take into consideration and someone actually spins.
We can see that the boats on the starting line.
They are really crowded. The boats are really crashing into each other, and people are very aggressive.
Everyone is trying to secure a spot closest to the pin end. However, it could be difficult to start when there's so many boats.
Yeah, and many people line up far away, so they don't really get on the line when the start goes, as we can see here.
In a start like this, getting a good acceleration can be extra important.
Yeah, getting that extra, just accelerating 1 second before can really give a lot, since you have more speed than everyone else, and you get that really like 2 meters ahead of everyone, and then you're ahead.
The boats on the starting line seem to be fairly straight, and no one is over yet.
We saw the Murtas here sticking out a bit, 217 Italy, fighting to get on top there and not drifting down and to keep his space at the top. Oh, we see him sticking out some more.
In a start like this, if you're on the second lane, it can be hard to get into the first lane as it's so crowded. Now we can see everyone's pushing the line and the start is about to go. And
now the
they're
start
off.
went. We saw Casper Ramm-Ericson last race who just got a space, and he starts now. He still got in, even though he was in the line. And it's very important to tack here. He's a fast first person who tacks, which is a good. He got a similar start to the last one, which is great. We also see Oscar Netzelid here who tacked and got a free spot. One thing is if you got in the second lane or didn't get a good acceleration and you managed to tack out and get a free lane, that is also very good, because the most important here is to have a free lane with free wind, and then it's just focus on your speed and go straight forward, straight towards the mountain.
When you're stuck in dirty wind behind other boats, it's really difficult to sail and do what you want, as you have to adapt your plan to all the other boats.
We see the Murtasar with a good start and attacked a bit later, but still has a before some other boats behind.
We can now see that the majority of the fleet has tacked on and is sailing towards land.
It's lagging a bit, but it seems like boats are. This is quite normal Garda when pin end, tack, and then focus on speed towards the mountain. Therefore, there are oftenly when you sail two modes, you can call them. You go high mode or low mode. High mode is oftenly you do it right after the start when you want to go high and try to pin the other person off. And then low mode is, for example, in this place where you don't you just want to go as fast as possible towards the mountain. So therefore, a low. How would you say you would say a low mode?
Well, in a situation like this, saying low mode can be quite a good idea to get first into the mountain and to maybe separate a bit for the other boats. However, in a race like this, I would say that getting a good start in the first lane and tacking off can really be a winning concept.
I agree. We see it's hiking conditions here, and we see the waves. It's a lot of working, and of course, bailing is very good. We see Oscar Nettelid at the end there, who is gaining on his speed compared to the two behind or under. We have Isa Kaplan here, who was doing good after yesterday's result with a 5th place. And last race, which didn't go as good, but he seems to be in a good position right now, so hopefully he can stay there to keep his position.
We see nearly the majority of the fleet going to the right side of the course. Only a few boats sailing towards the left.
We see some similar sailors like Reed Gibbs here again. We see sailing and Greek. And here is Jesper Carlsen, who started more towards the middle committee. And we will see if the right is paying more this time or less. But it seems like the right is doing much better.
Soon the boats furthest to the right should be coming up to the ley line. As they're coming in quite close to the land.
They seem to be gaining more and more. And as you can see, most boats are going port tack straight there. And the only ones who tack are the ones who they tack to get their free lane and free wind.
Yeah. What would you say is important to have good boat speed in this wind? Good boat speed.
To get good boat speed in this wind, I think it's first of all the body movement. You need to work back with the waves to avoid colliding into the waves, and then also steering you can do going up and down, which also helps with the body movement. And then the third one is the main sheet. Since when you're going up and down, you also need to adjust with the main sheet, and also you can lose some power so that you don't go over power. And we see that they have now tacked over, and It
We
is.
see that the boat coming from the right hand side is in the lead, and crossing the boats from the left hand side, which indicates that the right hand side could be favored.
Yeah, we see them crossing
We've-
parallel, but the left doesn't look too bad. We have Isa Kaplan there, who started more middle, or not really middle, but he positioned himself more middle, and he is in a very good position right now.
We also see the boats coming in from the right hand side, sailing quite a high angle on the tack.
But the people from the left side do not look so bad right now. They're still like they still have a chance. For the last race, it looked like it was much more right.
No, very true. But being said, though, there are quite a lot of good gusts coming in from the right hand side, which could be favourable now as they're coming closer to the upwind mark.
We see Casper Ramm-Ericson here, who was the first person who tagged, who seems to have a really nice position here, a space from the rest, and have his own lane with own free wind. And here is one example when you see people, the people tack, and then you go under, and then you tack to get a free spot. But that leads, if everyone keeps doing that, it keeps getting like a ladder, and that's why people gets over the ley line. The left seem to be gaining some more now, or it seems to not be that bad.
However, you see the boat in the lead is quite far ahead.
Yeah, he's taking more space. He's seem to have a good boat speed.
And the majority on the fleet on the starboard tack, sailing towards the mark. There's quite a big spread of the boats.
Here,
Where some boats are very far on the left hand side.
Sweden 49.28, Adam Laurin, good to be bailing. Also here, Italy.
We can see that Italy is in the lead.
It is Leonardo Scalpi who is in the lead right now in this race, which is a bit sad since he got his second black flag. It is at least nice to finish this race, or at least right now be leading. We see Oscar Nettelid, who also was one of the first ones at the attacking from the pin or committee pin. Seemed to be under there, but still in a very good position, and seems to be Jesper Karlsson there under.
It seems like the people from the right are crossing the people from the left and sailing higher. Soon the first boat is going to reach the upwind mark. We'll see if he'll reach the mark without tacking or not.
Yeah, and also if these boats are overlaying or not.
In this race, it seems like the right-hand side, of course, has really paid off.
Yeah.
In comparison to the first race, where the left hand was left side was favored.
Yeah, I think it like stabled more into the normal Garda, the typical Garda conditions.
There also seems to be flowing in some good gusts and wind on the right-hand side. Here we see a wider view of the fleet, where most of the boats are on the same tack. And we now see that
Leonardo Scalpi is rounding at a first place, and he is reaching the mark quite good, even a bit over ley line. So the question is, are these behind even more over ley line, since they were even more over? And in that case, maybe these people, for example, Adam Larin and Jesper Karlsson, can maybe gain some more, since the others are over ley line.
we see that Sweden is now rounding second.
Isa Kaplan is rounding second from Sweden.
Now they're sailing to the first few boats, sailing towards the reaching mark.
Here we see, for example, Casper Ramm-Ericson over ley line and Malta 244. Also, Irene Feini from Italy.
Yeah, there are a few boats who are now reaching towards the mark because of the overlaid.
Yeah, many people overdo the right going to the mountain. We also see Finn Ramos here rounding, soon from Great Britain, who is bailing already. And one thing is, when you bail right now to the mark, it's some coaches say that it's already too late, that you should be bailing before, since many people focus on the sailing during the race, and then on the reach they start bailing. We also saw Ernst Åkesson, who is from Sweden, a bit far ahead, rounding. We see very many people over, and I think the people from left gain a lot. For example, Sisu, Finland, 1180, who tacked and round now.
Here, some of the boats come straight from the left onto the ley line, whereas some of the boats are overlaying quite a bit from the right-hand side.
For example, Sweden 4804, Olof Aldor, who is reaching quite a lot, or this Italian 170.
Here we see a bit of chaos around the mark, where a boat is forced to jibe around to be able to tack and round the mark.
That is a very unfortunate situation. Another collision there. It has happened to me, unfortunately, too, when you don't get around the mark and you can lose up to, all the boats. You can lose 10, you can lose 20, 40, 50, 60, maybe
Here we
even 100 here.
Also see
For this live broadcast from the Lake Garda Easter meeting, the 43rd edition, we are coming to a close from the broadcasting. I think we've had a fantastic day. It's been a brilliant regatta, 3 really good races in Gold Fleet now. And sitting here at the Temple of Sailing in Europe, Lake Garda, I'm most grateful for the support we've had from our speakers also. So if you to wrap up today's sailing, Vanya, what would you say?
I would say that it's been really fun watching these sailors sail. And I would say good luck to all the sailors in the future.
And Adele, I mean, you're now handing over the crown to a new sailor, as you are currently the region female champion of the Lake Garda Easter meeting, the largest regatta in the world. Do you have anything to say to the new people on the podium?
I'm very happy for each person who gets to take a place on the podium, and for each individual who has competing here. If it's podium or not podium, I've been there, and I'm just very happy and really try to enjoy the moment and don't forget it.
It's been a memorable event for all of us here, and we just want to round off with saying a big congratulations to all sailors. This is a lifetime experience. You've just completed the largest regatta in the world, and remember it for always and ever. So, from the three of us to all of you, a very big good luck and enjoy the ride. Thank you.